taken to the infield hospital.
That fellow you see in the blue coveralls laying on the car, if I'm not mistaken, that is Dave Marcus, showing the fellows where to hook the hooks on the wrecker to so they won't injure the car any more than it is. Jack Arute?
Benny, I'm here with the fellow that came out of the Miller American number 8, Bobby Hillen. Bobby, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, I guess somebody got tangled up with Ron Bouchard, and I went low to avoid him and hit that water, and the car just accelerated into the wall. And, you know, I'd just like to thank Miller and all Pro and Buick and Stavola Brothers and everybody that's put this deal together. We're just going to keep fighting and trying to win a race someday.
On a short track like this, in an accident, when it unfolds as quickly as it does, is there much that you as a driver can do?
Well, I couldn't get your whole question, but, you know, there's not a lot you can do. You don't have much room to work with, especially when the inside of the track is so wet, because you go to avoid it and you hit the water, the car just accelerates, you have no control. So, you know, really, there's not a whole lot you can do. We just hope for better luck next time.
We hope for it, too. And Benny and Bob, remember, that's one of the things we brought up at the top of the telecast, how the rain and the precipitation here could cause problems.
You're absolutely right. Thanks, Jack. And we certainly hope that Bobby is going to be okay. There is Ron Bouchard, who I guess had a hand in exactly what happened and causing the accident behind him, but his car looks no worse for the wear.
I think there was a tire mark on the left front of the automobile of Ron Bouchard, the Pontiac, the Valvoline Pontiac, on the right of the left front tire, I think, has a problem.
Okay, 109 laps have been completed, just a little more than 1/5 of this race over. 2 yellows so far. And we'll be back with more after this. Season NHL action, and ESPN presents live the showdown for the Patrick Division Championship. Washington against Philadelphia. Besides a divisional championship, of course, the winner of tonight's game will have a home ice advantage throughout the early part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It all begins this evening at 7:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. You can see how close that race for the Patrick Division Championship is, with the Flyers leading by just 2 or whether 1 point over Washington. So it should be a good game tonight at 7:30 here on ESPN. Well, we have a tremendous crowd on hand here at Bristol, and not all of them are seated in the grandstand. There are some watching the race from a hill on the backstretch side of this racetrack.
It's unbelievable just how many people's there. I bet there's 2,000 people on that hill overlooking the racetrack, and I'm not sure they paid to get in.
No, I don't think they have. The grandstand is full here. It's definitely a sellout at Bristol. But there are, as you said, a couple of thousand people up there on the hill watching this race. Well, Tim Richmond was somewhat involved in this most recent crash here. We're going to go green in one more lap. We'll try to get a very brief word with Tim on what happened.
5-9, I think, yeah. 26, that's right.
Well, he's talking with his crew right now, so we will not be able to talk with Tim right at the moment. However, Jack Arute has moved down to that first turn area and is with Eddie Berschwall and Dave Marcus, the other 2 drivers involved in those most recent crash.
Here with the other 2 casualties from that accident, Eddie Berschwall on my left. Eddie, are you all right?
Yeah, Jackie, we're all right. Pulled the car up tonight. We got it running real good. We started off loose in the race. We had that pit stop. Got her tightened up. We were running real good. And, somebody started crashing on the straightaway and had everything missed. Somebody hit Dave, knocked him in. I mean, I got it real good.
Well, Dave Marcus, who is on my right, you said somebody spun and you thought you were past the accident.
Well, Jackie, Tim Richmond got up into Ron Bouchard, got him up in the wall, and I seen it happening. I slowed down for it. Pretty well thought I was clear, and someone got into me from the rear and started me spinning. When I came down off the apron, there was really no place for Eddie to go. I seen him coming, and he just hit me.
We've got a lot of bench sheet metal down here, but the drivers are okay.
So a couple of real serious looking accidents here in the first 110 laps of this race, but luckily no driver injuries. The leader is Dale Earnhardt, and he has now lengthened up his lead quite a bit over Terry Labonte. Still running in 3rd place is Ricky Rudd. 4th is Darrell Waltrip. 5th now is Richard Petty, and 6th is Harry Gant. 7th is Rusty Wallace. In 8th position is Bobby Allison. 9th is Kyle Petty, and 10th is Bill Elliott. Now, Rusty Wallace is running in the top 10, and he came into this race about as optimistic as anybody. He not only said he was going to win this race today, but he said he was going to dominate it, and we'll keep an eye on him in the number 27 Alucard Pontiac.
It looks like that Terry Labonte has trouble getting going the first 2 or 3 laps in his Oldsmobile. Right now, it looks like it's time for him to go, but the first 2 or 3 laps after the green flag, Earnhardt goes ahead and puts a few car lengths on him. Right now, Ricky Rudd giving Terry Labonte all he wants.
Well, Benny, as we've watched the first 125 laps of this race, what do you think about the chassis setups? It seems to me that it's a very difficult job to get this car set up for this racetrack. There is, by the way, is Rusty Wallace, who is racing with Harry Gant for 6th position.
I think that most everyone today missed the combination. I know we certainly know Darrell Waltrip did, and we know that Jeff Bodine did. It looks like most of the cars missed the combination. Although they have now made a couple of pit stops, they've been adjusted. By the last 200 laps of the race, they'll get them going, and it's hard to say right now who has the best race car.
All right, when you talk about making adjustments now, we're talking about the stagger and the wedge and that type of thing.
Exactly right. They can change the tires and actually change the chassis itself.
Harry Gant and Rusty Wallace, 6th and 7th here. You can see that smoke coming off the right rear of the Harry Gant car as he tries his best to stay ahead of Rusty Wallace, who is certainly putting some heat on him. Wallace looking to the inside in the 2nd corner, going down the backstretch now. Rusty Wallace, never a winner in Winston Cup competition, and he was extremely optimistic going into this race. But of course, Rusty is no stranger to victory lane, as he is one of the real outstanding short track drivers in some of the other divisions, the ASA division, the All-Pro division, and others. Rusty Wallace from St. Louis, Missouri. Now sneaking right up on Harry Gant, and looks like he had to hit the brakes there to avoid hitting Harry in the rear end.
Rusty Wallace is getting through turns 3 and 4 about as well as anybody on the racetrack right now. 1 and 2, Harry Gant is able to maintain his lead, but when they go in the middle of 3 and 4, watch Rusty Wallace come right up on his back bumper.
There
and he's going to try him.
Off of the 4th corner, but again, as they come off the corner, Harry Gant with a horsepower advantage, it appears, and able to hang on to that 6th spot. But this is good racing here. Bill Elliott, by the way, in car number 9. He is the car right behind Rusty Wallace, has moved from 11th to 8th since the green flag fell on the restart. So Bill Elliott, who finished 4th in the GTO race yesterday at Road Atlanta, Road Atlanta is in the 11th, as in the 8th spot at the moment. Of course, Bill went to Road Atlanta, Benny, to gain some experience on the road courses in anticipation of the L and R series, and you've also done some road racing this year.
Yes, I was down in Sebring, Florida for the 12-hour race, driving Tex Powell's little Oldsmobile, sponsored by Skoll. And we're also going to run the GTO race in Charlotte. I think it's a 300-kilometer race, May 18th or some Sunday. I think it's the same Sunday that the Winston Cup drivers are in Dover, Delaware.
What do you like, and what do you think about road racing? You like it?
Oh, I enjoy it. You know, unfortunately, road racing is not a spectator sport. It's not as much a spectator sport as oval track racing is, but for the competitor, it is fantastic. Right, left, shifting, braking. It's so much fun, Bob.
Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, running in 8th position. Ahead of him, Rusty Wallace and Harry Gant. Elliott, another one of those who has not visited victory lane this year. As a matter of fact, has not won since last year at Darlington when he won the $1 million.
He won Atlanta last fall.
He did. That's
win
correct.
The Atlanta race.
That's correct. Elliott did win Atlanta. And his best finishes this year, a 7th at Rockingham and a 5th at Atlanta. The pace continues to be set by Dale Earnhardt.
But look how much closer Terry Labonte is right now than he was a few laps ago. When they throw the green flag, Earnhardt shoots out there, but in a few laps, it looks like his car gets loose. Labonte's car is a little bit too tight when they throw the green flag, but in a few laps, his car is probably the best setup car on the racetrack right now, if it's not Ricky Rudd's car.
Jeff Bodine, as you recall, was coming in for a pit stop when the accident occurred here in corner number 1, and they have made some adjustments to that car. Does it appear to be working better, Benny?
It looks like it is, but you know, it's hard to tell right now. He's going up the racetrack, I think, a little bit more than he would like to be. I don't think it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There, the car's still on the bottom of the racetrack very well, but in 1 and 2, he's having problems going up the racetrack. That's the Tim Richmond car and his car are both owned by Rick Hendrick out of Charlotte, North Carolina. There's Joe Ruttman looking out his back window at Richmond and Jeff Bodine. We see the right front tire smoke severely on the Bodine automobile turns 3 and 4. He passes Tim Richmond on the outside coming off turn 4.
So Jeff Bodine now moves to 12th position, and Tim Richmond back to 13th. Our in-car camera carried by Joe Ruttman. That machine running at 11th spot. And of course the Joe Ruttman car, the number 26 Quaker State machine, is owned by drag racing standout Kenny Bernstein. And we had an opportunity to accompany Kenny on the flight from Atlanta down here last Thursday, and he is very optimistic that the problems that they have had here in the early going of this season have been corrected. It's been mostly an overheating problem that has plagued this team, but Kenny assures us that an overheating problem has been corrected, and Larry McReynolds, the crew chief on that car, hopes to have it in victory lane here today. All right, 143 laps have been completed, and the lead continues to be held by Dale Earnhardt. We've only had 2 leaders in this race, Neil Bonnet, who crashed while leading, and then Dale Earnhardt took over and is holding it, but still having a challenge by Terry Labonte.
There we see Richard Petty, and I tell you that he still has all the fans here. Just a moment ago, he passed Darrell Waltrip, and the place erupted. Everyone here stood up and cheered, clapped, and Richard is on the move. He's coming race 4th spot right now, right in behind the 15 car of Ricky Rudd. This might be 201 today.
It could be. We talked to him earlier about when 201 was going to come, and he said, well, it could very well be this weekend. He was another one of those drivers that had such high hopes when the season started with the new Pontiac and the configuration of that car there in the rear end, and he had hoped to do very, very well this year, and certainly is turning in his best performance of 1986 here at Bristol. He hit the wall rather hard during the Daytona 500 and sustained some rib injuries, but he is looking very, very good here at Bristol. Earnhardt is the leader with Terry Labonte second, Ricky Rudd third, and then Darrell Waltrip will be a raceway where an accident has knocked out Ronnie Thomas, and he has been taken from that car and is on a stretcher now, will be loaded into the ambulance. Benny, it appeared to be probably a leg injury that Ronnie sustained.
He looked like that's the problem he was having, was with his leg. They carried him from the car. He was talking to him and what have you, but it looked like that his legs was that he couldn't walk. And I tell you what, he almost, it looks like he cut that car in two. What a terribly hard blow to the right front.
Yeah, he made initial impact on turn number 3. It again appeared that something broke on the car, and the car went right into the wall. Then he hit it pretty good again as the car came off of the 4th corner and onto the main straightaway. He was conscious, however, and is in the ambulance now to be taken for observation.
A good indication that there was something, that he was hurt. The accident happened going in turn 3. The car stopped. We see the car sitting there right now. It's in turn 2. He almost made a lap with that car, and that tells me that he was unable to reach down and hit the brake.
And the word from our observers down there is that it indeed is a leg injury sustained by Ronnie Thomas, and it's too bad because he's such a likable young man and trying to make his mark in this type of racing, and doing so on a very limited budget.
There was an accident here yesterday. If you watched our show last night, you saw Kenny Burks was carried out in an ambulance, and the upgrade on him is that he did have a cut on his lip, which they stitched up and released him from the hospital last night.
We're certainly concerned about him because he rear-ended another car very, very hard here on the main straightaway, but fortunately no serious injuries. There is Jeff Bodine in car number 5. Now Jeff comes out of all this. Of course, there was a flurry of pit stop activity when the yellow came on because of the Ronnie Thomas crash, and through all of this, Jeff Bodine has found himself back in the lead, and he has had a assortment of problems here, especially with the handling of that car. But if they have that car fixed now, he could very definitely dominate this race here for a while.
Tell you what, I think it's a serious mistake for him not to pit, because he has been about 60 laps since he pitted last. All of his competition is sitting right behind him with 4 new tires. I think Jeff Bodine's got problems.
He has not pitted under this caution, and so that's the reason that he is in the lead at this point. Well, this Bristol